521-8255's number to call. That's 521-8255. Here's James in Ottawa. Hi, James. What's on your mind?
Well, where do you begin?
Did you see the cover of Maclean's?
No, I didn't. What is it?
Well, I've been talking about it all night here tonight. The caption reads, America's Hypocrisy. And it's got a picture of Michelle Obama holding up a sign that says "Bring back our girls."
Now,
and the whole point of the article is, they're patting themselves on the back, thinking, that people think that they care and they're doing something, and they're doing nothing.
Well, they are doing something. They're just not doing what it is they're pretending they're doing. One of the best bloggers out there is a guy who calls himself Sultan Kanesh. I think his real name is Daniel Greenfield, who now writes for Front Page and a bunch of other. But his own site is Sultan Kanesh. He wrote an extraordinary piece on this where he said that basically the only reason that the Obama administration even appears to be doing anything about this is because they want to embarrass the Nigerian government, because the Nigerian government is the only government in the world that, besides maybe China, that's actually doing something to oppose Islamic terror within its country. Right, so you have the Nigerian government is actually fighting Boko Haram. They're doing something about it. They have border controls. They have all the rational things. And he thinks that the Obama admin and Mrs. Obama are just doing this hashtag thing to embarrass that government. Because and it's not that bad an argument when you consider that they've done nothing practical, and it's not like they aren't capable of it. Right, but they're doing nothing practical.
They take out Boko Haram in a week if they wanted to.
Yes, they could, but they obviously clearly don't want to. But the thing that gets me about that, and actually I called about something else, but just while we're on this, the thing that really upsets me about this is that while this thing was spectacular, and we talked about this before, it did get some media attention. The number of events, the number of women taken as slaves by Muslims or by anybody, but usually it's almost always by Muslims because that ideology condones slavery. And it's that many people taken every month. You look at the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, where slavery is still legal, and there's open slave markets. I mean, they made some passing.
There's open slave markets in Mauritania.
Yeah, look it up. Just Google.
I'm not doubting it, James.
Absolutely, there is. And of course in Saudi Arabia and other Muslim states, there's now and again, if you just do a search for, a person in the UK caught with owning slaves, it's always expats from Pakistan or Saudi Arabia or whatever. Even in Canada, in Vancouver, a woman was caught keeping a slave. I mean, it's just. There's more people in slavery today, I think, than when people think about the slave days. I can't say with total authority, but I believe that there are more people in human captivity, in slavery, in that kind of bondage than there was then. And if you look at England, for instance, I mentioned it before, that report about the number of British girls who've been taken as sex slaves by Muslim pimping gangs. It's just the number is in the thousands and thousands and thousands of girls. It's just this is really endemic. So the fact that I'm glad there's some attention on these 300. But what about that Christian doctor recently that's just sentenced? She just gave birth in a squalid jail cell. Right, and she's about to be put to death for apostasy, even though, well, it doesn't matter whether she was always a Christian or not. People have a right to change their mind about their religions. But this woman's
not in those countries.
Well, that's it. Islam does not consider it legal. It's a death penalty to change your religion away from Islam.
It's still the same in Afghanistan. Even after all our, the years of our guys in there saving their butts. I remember doing radio shows. You mean our guys went over there, and our women, our best and brightest, went over there and gave their lives so that these people could put to death anybody that converts from Islam to Christianity? It's still in place in Afghanistan.
Actually, there was
under the so-called moderate government that's leading it right now.
Well, in a university in Kabul, 2 guys were sentenced to jail for suggesting, because they claimed that they saw a fact suggesting that women should have equal rights before the law. I mean, people just don't get it. And if I talk about this in social circles, I can tell you who ends up looking like the bad guy, even though this stuff is demonstrably true. So, and then of course, then there's that woman in Pakistan that just recently was stoned to death with bricks, I think, because she married somebody other than whoever she was prescribed to be married to. Mm-hmm. And that was in front of a legislative building, and I doubt you'll see very many arrests over that. Because in Islamic law, in Sharia, which you can look this up yourself, and
I'm familiar with it, James. I mean, you're telling people. Go ahead.
Well, the Reliance of the Traveler specifically says in the section about killing without retribution that your children or your grandchildren are fair game to be killed if they dishonor Islam. So if they, and a woman that isn't doing what she's told, if she marries somebody who's not a Muslim or whatever, is going against Sharia law. And the state may have something to say about it, but Islamic law does not. So about Belgium. I want to ask you about the shooting. That shooting, because you're in journalism. You have a radio program. You know journalists. Do you not find it peculiar? There's something
story, James.
Well, one or two men. The story's vague. It's always two, and then later on they say it was one. But at the moment, it's two men went into a Jewish museum in Belgium.
Okay.
In Brussels, and shot up the place, killing 4 people, and then escaped. Okay. Lots of eyewitnesses. This is just a couple of days ago. There's lots of eyewitnesses, and there was security cam footage. And you can, if you Google, I would ask you later on. When you get a chance, Google this. And there's all kinds of articles about it, and none of them have any information. What I mean by that is they'll say 2 men went in, and at first they thought it was a guy got out of a black car. Now they're saying he was just a witness. But there's no information. Like, there's one article I read, I think it's a Guardian article, where they actually interview a guy who was an eyewitness who said, I was right there. The guy went right by me. I caught him in the eye. I looked him right in the eye, and I could see his cold, remorseless face. You know what's missing from every single article? A description. There's not one description of who these guys are, not what they look like, not their height, nothing. Now, not only is there no description,
color of hair, complexion,
nothing,
what they were wearing,
beard, what they were wearing. Yeah, they mentioned what they were wearing.
You and I have seen that before, though.
Yes, we have, but this is really spooky because there were eyewitnesses and there were cameras. Now, the eyewitnesses, it's not just that there's no description of guys who are at large killing random people, and I say it was a Jewish museum, but the people they killed could have been anybody, right? It's not only Jews visiting a Jewish museum, right? Mm-hmm. They are killing whoever they're killed. They're just randomly on the streets. This is, in my opinion, the government, the police, and the media are complicit to any murder that these guys now do because they are not giving people the information they need to protect themselves. 2 guys are at large. By now, I'm assuming that they've changed their jackets because it does describe their jacket, blue jacket with a sports logo, although they don't say which one. But I'm going to guess that by now, it's been a couple of days, they probably had time to change their jacket. So not only do
dye
these
their hair and shave their beards and do a number
except that we don't even know what color the hair and beard was. No danger there.
Get cosmetic surgery in that time.
In that time, for sure. So these articles not only don't describe them, but there's no mention in the article that we're asked to not give a description. Like, it doesn't even mention the obvious omission. It just causes cognitive dissonance in the reader. Like, wait, there's something wrong here. And some of these articles are like a full page, and there's no information. Then they release photos from the security cameras. I'm going to ask you a question. If you, for your own house, never mind for a big institution that's a target anyway in a highly Islamic country, but if you are going to buy a security system for your own house and they show you the video or the photos from the cameras they want to sell you, and all they are is desaturated kind of blue scale, like grayscale, but kind of blue, white, fuzzy, and all you can see is the top of people's hats. Are you going to buy that?
No.
So there's no way.
I'm getting a better system.
Right. There is no way that the photos they're releasing are actual photos from the security camera. I mean, there's actual photos, but they've been doctored to deliberately obscure the way the perps look. So it's not just that there's no information, it's disinformation. And again, they haven't caught these guys. They're at large. They've killed 4 people at random. They easily could be heading to another target. And I think the media, what is exactly the point of having a government and having a free press or a press and having a security service if they deliberately, it must be policy. If they have policies that prevent them from informing the public of a clear and present and immediate threat, you cannot defend yourself. This is criminal. This is criminal complicity.
James, there's got to be voices in Belgium that are, voicing the same opinion that you are. I mean,
not that I've seen so far.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a number of elections that have taken place in the last week there where Europe has risen up and rejected, this whole politically correct European Union ideology. And that there seems to be a grabbing back of people's nations from what they believe as encroaching, encroaching powers that of political correctness. And I'm sure that those forces are in Belgium. There's got to be people that are voicing what you're voicing there.
Last time I checked, there was an actual party in Belgium that has 2 seats, which is an Islamic Sharia party that believes in implementing the Sharia and ending elections in Belgium, and they're very open about it. These 2 guys.
Well, I think those parties are represented in most countries in Europe now.
Yeah, it's but I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I definitely think there was an interesting swing in the last batch of elections, especially because I know for a fact that most of those elections were fixed in a number of ways, and yet still people managed to find a way to claw with bloodied nails back to some towards reason, towards protecting. I mean, in multiculturalism, one has to hope that our culture is at least one of them, right? And you can see people exactly, and you see that yes, there was a huge swing back to.
Did you hear that, folks? In multiculturalism, one has to hope that our culture is at least one of them. I'm going to retweet that, James. Thanks for your call.
Thank you. Bye.
Good having you on.